is every other Friday. As we remember, we have now come online to be together, to start a conversation. And today's one is unprecedented. I mean, we've had great conversations, and I'm not saying this one's better, but what I am saying is that this one has got a place all on its own. It is such a special conversation. Now, as we all come into the room, I want to just ask one question. Who in here thinks of themselves as a business? When you think about yourself and the work that you do you think of yourself as a business? Tell me yes or no, or as a brand. When you look at yourself, do you think, I'm a business or I'm a brand? And I'm not talking about if you are an entrepreneur or business owner. I'm talking about just you yourself. When you think about yourself, do you think about yourself as a brand or as a business? Now, I read a very interesting networking book that actually said if you and I were to think more of ourselves as a business, the entire game would change. And I'm convinced that this is the case as well. So today I've got someone super, super interesting. Oh my goodness, I respect the lady we have on our live today because she is a sales expert. And I'm not just talking sales expert, but I'm talking someone who is consistently doing amazing work with global organizations. So I'm going to read her bio now. But let me know in the comments so far, do you think of yourself as a business, and just how do you think that the game changes when we do that? Because as we know, today's consumers don't want to just consume, they want to co-create with you. So if you're a business, you're a brand, you need to start thinking that the people who are consuming what I put out don't just want to consume it, they want to co-create with me. So how do I position myself better? So that's exactly our topic today. You are the bag, secure yourself. How do you position yourself when the rules of the game have completely changed? And changed they have, guys. I'm sure we all know that who you are now is not necessarily how you showed up before. You need to show up differently. So let me introduce our speaker for today. So my guest for today is Shelley Walters. She is the founder of Shelley Walters Inc. and the Sales Council. So you may have heard of her. Please go check out her website. I will share something a little bit later, not to give anything away, but please do check out her website. Shelley is an international sales guru, and I think I've given her this name because that's just what she is. And she's helped sales teams across the globe revolutionize their strategies around sales, helping them to meet and to exceed targets and absolutely shoot the lights out. So she's just that kind of person. Shelley, I'm going to bring you on now before I say too much and get everyone too excited. So I see, all right, you request to on our lives. Let's give her a round of applause. Lovely. I see everyone is coming in smoothly. That's absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much, guys. Hello. Yay.
Hey, it's so good to be here.
It's lovely to see you, Shelley. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little embarrassed about that incredible introduction and that amazing bio. I was just thinking, who's this person? The two guys are like, I'm good. I'm doing something tonight for the very first time. It's my first ever Facebook Live, Instagram Live, but I know I'm in good hands.
You are. You definitely are. We've got some great individuals that are going to be coming in, streaming in, and having this conversation with us. Because as I spoke a little bit earlier on, it's all about co-creating. And as much as so many of us really want to hear some of the tidbits you have to share, we are going to be getting a lot of questions, comments coming through as we usually do on these. So I really do want to encourage everyone who's coming in to share their comments and some of their questions as well that we can post to Shelley as we continue with this conversation. Cool, all good. So Shelley, I'm glad that you did join us for this and you accepted this offer. I think your expertise are highly appreciated, especially at this time. Now, to kick off our conversation, I want to understand from you, how much does how we position ourselves in today's world really have to do with our personal brands? Are the two even related? And if so, how?
So that's a great question. We talk about the positioning of your personal brand and your ability to succeed in the world and to influence and persuade other people. There are different schools of thought on this. I just want to start off by saying that, okay? And And positioning yourself has got different facets and different aspects to it. So you can position yourself, of course, by good media exposure, by being invited onto radio interviews and podcasts and things like that. But for most of us, we have to start by positioning ourselves on the tools that are available to everyone. And the big thing you need to think about, okay, you can create a brand that in many years later, you look back and you actually don't like it. A very good friend of mine, Rapelang Rabana, said to me once, she said, Shelley, when you think about your business, how will you feel running that business in 10 years from now? Are you creating a business that you actually love? And that brings me back to the brand. Are you creating a brand that you actually love? So I have two questions that I would pose to anybody who's thinking about their brand. The first is, what do you want to change in the world? Which will lead to the second one, and that is, what are you going to stand for? And this is particularly true in sales, but it's true for everyone. But if you think about it from a sales perspective, what do you want to change? So for me, I want to help people to close more deals, because if you close more deals, there's more revenue in your business, you have more margin, you're free to be creative, you're not fighting for survival every day. That's what I want to do. I want to change people going from a fight for survival to being able to thrive and to flourish. And along with that comes things that I stand for. Now, I will share with you, Zanele, and for those that are listening today, that 15 years ago, I was, and it came through trial and error, what I'm sharing with you today, because 15 years ago, I was maybe standing for things that really weren't at the core of who I am and what it is I want to create. And maybe at the time they were beneficial for me and they were timeless. When you think about creating a personal brand, it is something that, as Rapelang said to me in that conversation, do you want to live with that in 15 or 20 years from now? And how much work is it going to take for you? Or is it actually an expression of your beliefs and the way you were created?
I love that you answered that with questions that everyone can start to ponder and I want to invite anyone who would love to just share those answers of their own with us as well. Shelley, why do you think this topic has become so important? And I think you can even bring in some of your great sales experience here as well, and maybe some great case studies of clients you've worked with. But why do you think this topic is becoming that much more important now more than ever?
Because we need economic recovery. We need economic recovery. Okay, so let's look at it from South Africa, and I realize that there may be people dialing in from all over the world on this Instagram Live, but just let's look at it geographically in South Africa, and then from there I'll expand it out. So in South Africa, we have a double whammy. We're in the midst of a global pandemic, and we have got unprecedented unemployment rates. We've got companies that are laying people off at a rate that nobody could have predicted, okay? Sales is an essential economic activity. It is essential, and it is honorable, it is noble, it is dignified, and I will prove it to you. Have a look at what happens when businesses don't make sales. They let people go. And somebody has to walk in the house and look at their family and wonder to themselves, how will I put food on the table? And that is true whether you're in sales or whether you're the person who's packing the stock to be delivered to the customer. We always talk about everybody is in sales. I don't think but I think there are more people who could be persuaded of that. I don't think people are fully persuaded of that, even when the evidence is right in front of us. Yeah. The way to rebuild your personal finances, your business finances, your community finances, your sector's finances are through increasing the volume and the profitability of transactions. And when people are not selling, what happens is it impacts not only the company, but the individuals, the communities. I mean, how do you support a community initiative like finding young talented sportsmen that don't have the support they need from their family and helping them to develop a career in sports if somebody is not going to pay for it. Right? And that's the role that business has played in our society, and that comes down to sales. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, as I said to you, we have massive unemployment. And Zanele, if I was to ask people, what do they think is my highest level of education? And guys, let me know. Just take a look at me and think, what do you think is my highest level of education? And do you think I came from a home with parents that were married? When I asked this in an audience, and back in the day when you could get on stage and there were 500 people in the room, right? People would say to me that my mother was a stay-at-home mother. The best I ever got was that my mother was a yoga instructor. Now, nothing could be further from the truth. Or that my father was an engineer or a businessman. But that's not true. I don't know my father at all. And my mom had was dealt a tough deal in life. And I didn't finish school, Zanele.
Wow.
And we've just had our remote selling school accredited by the Insurance Institute of South Africa. Now, make no mistake. Do not think that because I didn't get a formal tertiary education that I am uneducated. I am not uneducated. I can show you the books that are sitting on my shelf here. So I'm certainly uneducated. But the formal pathways of getting into business leadership through working through the ranks wasn't open to me. I didn't have a degree. I wasn't going to be able to go through the finance route. And look, we need finance people, especially those of us in sales. If you are creative, highly entrepreneurial, you need a good accountant, okay? You need a partner that's going to balance you, or whatever the case might be. But I knew I had this leadership quality because that's how I was created. My creator made me like this. But I couldn't take a formal path through education, getting a job as a graduate, working my way up. Sales is the one job that'll allow you to reinvent yourself at any point in your life. And you can do it with no money, no network, no family. In fact, everybody that you know can write you off. You could not have a single Facebook friend, and you could still go and begin to make a life for yourself in sales and build yourself from the ground up. Look at direct selling.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. And it actually brings me to ask the follow-up. Something you said this phrase that's so common, that every job is a sales job. And I don't know if we can relate it to every person is a salesperson, because I want people on this call really to understand that unless they intentionally sell, then the right place, and I feel awkward.
Are all pitching all the time. We don't. If you ask the shareholder, yes, then you can.
Something you said this phrase that's so common, that every job is a sales job. And I don't know if we can relate it to every person is a salesperson, because I want people on this call really to understand that unless they intentionally sell, then they're not going to get the results they want. But are we actually selling without knowing it? Is that a thing? Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. So we're all pitching far more frequently than we realize, right? Mm-hmm. But let me start off by saying this. Did you know that 60% of American CEOs had their very first job in sales? Did you know that?
That says something.
Including Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's first job was selling stocks. So, we watch The Pursuit of Happiness and we think, oh, that's an amazing movie, Will Smith, but none of us actually want to live it. And here's the thing. If you believe that you have it in you, and let us know in the comments, do you have it in you to be a successful business person? Could you start a business and get that business to thrive? If you're going to answer me yes, then you cannot tell me that you also don't like selling. Because I will say this, if you don't like selling, you're not going to succeed in promoting your business or promoting what you want or putting in front of the right people. Now, if when you say selling, if what you mean is, I want to get people to buy things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people that they don't even like. Well, guess what? I don't like that either. Right? But everybody in the organization, whether you answer the phone, whether you're in the logistics warehouse, whether you're packing the shelves, whether you're cleaning the environment, whether you're in direct sales, whether you're the bookkeeper, whether you're the finance guy, whether you're the operations individual, whether you're the head of talent, whatever your role in the business is, if you ask the shareholders of that business, the only outcome they really want is increased turnover, profitability, and lower cost of sales.
Absolutely.
And so your role is to help customers to want to do business with the organization again. So that's the first sort of part of your question, like, are we all involved in sales? Well, the KPI, the key performance indicator of your role and what keeps you in the business, what makes you vital, what makes you irreplaceable, is the fact that you contribute to the bottom line. And that whole thing of nobody's irreplaceable is not true for people in sales. Trust me. There are people that are not necessarily even great people. Like even their bosses don't like them, right? But they stay. Why? Because they bring in the money. So if you want a job that you can't lose, that's the one thing. But the other part of it is we are all pitching all the time. We don't realize it, but you get a phone call from your boss on a Saturday and they're asking you some information. Your response to them is either persuading them that, this person gets it. They're dynamic. They can be trusted. That's the brand, right? That you were talking about in the first question. Or your response makes the person think, oh, and so that's an informal kind of pitch, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. So let's talk about authenticity then, because you touched on that a little bit. And one of the biggest concerns that people have about selling is they go, I don't like to sell because it makes me feel like I'm not being authentic and it doesn't feel like it's coming from the right place and I feel awkward. I have a colleague who works as a coach. Like, this is how he gets most of his income, and he says that, oh my goodness, I feel so nervous when I have to call people because I feel like I'm being disingenuous. I'm not being authentic. So talk me through if it's possible to be authentic and successful at selling at the same time, or not so much.
Okay, so let's go back to your friend who's a coach who I don't know. Okay, so I'm just going to take a coach. Sure. Do you think your friend studied to become a coach because he wanted to help people?
Yes, as far as I know, yes.
Okay. So if you study to be a coach because you want to help people, that doesn't fit with when I get on the phone or when I send an email, I feel disingenuous. It makes sense to me because if you didn't believe in it, if you didn't want to be a coach, you wouldn't study to be a coach. Yeah. If you didn't believe in coaching, you wouldn't become a coach. Okay, unless you're opportunistic, and that's something else we'll talk about, right? So, and I mean that's a reality, right?
Yes.
But the point I want to make is that many people, there's a gap between what they believe and what they say they believe, because they say I feel this, but it's not that, and we'll come back to that, right? Mm-hmm. But what I want to say to people is there's this big push about authenticity and purpose. And folks, I believe that this one life you get is the most precious thing. And how we spend our lives and what we do with our lives is absolutely vital. And I want to do work that is meaningful. And I want to enjoy the process. And I want to make a ton of cash in the process, right? So I want to have it all. But here's the thing. Firstly, purpose is not something out there that you go and find. Purpose is something you bring to your job. I have trained medical reps. This is a true story. I worked with an organization that there were two medicines that we were kind of working on the value proposition for. The one was a medication for prostate cancer. And it was a medication that if you're a man, and by the way, as many men get diagnosed with prostate cancer as women get breast cancer, it's just not spoken about. And if you get diagnosed with prostate cancer, this medication is the first kind of level of treatment. And it could mean the difference between you having to go for chemo and potentially losing your sex life or keeping it. But the reps had disconnected from that, and they had lost. They would say, my job doesn't have purpose. Now, I don't know about you, Zanetta, but I think that's pretty meaningful. Would you agree?
Oh, yes.
It's pretty meaningful. So here's the thing, and I feel like somebody needs to hear this tonight. Firstly, if you are tired and you're overworked and you're financially pressured and it's go, 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 go all the time, even the most meaningful job loses its meaning if you're tired. And if you feel like you've disconnected from what you're doing, it may not be that it's not meaningful. It may just be that you're tired or that you're under pressure and you're not in a good space. And, that's a normal part of being a human being. The second thing is you bring the meaning. You don't have to go and find it. It's in you. It's in what you do. There are teachers who teach with purpose. There are those who teach without purpose. There are plumbers who believe that what they do is the most meaningful job in the world. And there are other plumbers who just think this is a tough way to earn a living, right? So purpose is not something you go out and find. Right? Here's the thing about authenticity, Zanette. Your customers don't really care about your authenticity. Let me explain before somebody sends me some hate mail. Your customers care about your honesty. They care about your sincerity. But if authentic means telling your customer, I'm just having a bad day, I don't feel like having a meeting, or, authentically, my energy is not here, so I'm just going to, Zanele, authentically, it's 6 p.m. on a Friday night, and this week I've delivered 4 sessions, and it has been one heck of a week, okay? But that's not what your guests showed up for. What people need from you is your professionalism, and a professional shows up. But you've got to lead with professionalism. That's what people need, Zanele. People need you to show up and to deliver your best as if it matters.
We have this phrase that I often hear: no matter how you feel, you get up, you dress up, you show up, and you just keep going. I really, really like that. And I'm going to keep reading some of these comments just so that we're all engaging. And I want to encourage everyone who is on the line at the moment, please definitely share your comments and some questions for Shelley as well that we can pose to her. I see Edwin, you've said everyone is part of the sales value chain one way or another. We sell different things to different potential buyers. Very nice. Shelley, any thoughts on that?
No, it's exactly as you said. If you can tailor your message to different buyers, and we are all selling, whether the buyers of your family. Ask any mother right now who's trying to get any work done while homeschooling their kids, right? You've got to sell your kids on the idea that mom has to get her work done. Any man on here has ever proposed to a woman who said, yes, you're a salesperson, So, yeah, we are all selling, we're all pitching, we're all persuading. I agree with that.
And in a world, sorry to interrupt you, Shelley. And in a world where every single platform, every single business, every single individual is looking for our attention, it just becomes that much more important for us to know how to position ourselves. I said right at the beginning of this live that the rules of the game, it's as if, COVID was really quite, it was a curse and a blessing all at the same time, because it rewrote the rules of the game, especially in sales, which, you're in such an exciting space, especially at this time. So what are some of the things, if for the people that are on the line and the people that are going to watch and engage with this live going forward, what are some tools and tips for people who are going, okay, so I see myself as a brand, and I understand that I need to position myself in such a way that I get the attention of my potential clients and potential customers, and I'm consistently selling myself in an authentic way, or not, but I'm just landing so many of these pitches that I'm making consistently. What are some tips and tools that you can throw in there for us? Nothing too much. Don't reveal your trade secrets. I do know you also have a little gift for us, so I'm not going to say too much.
Yeah, so I think the first thing is to say that your customers need you now more than ever. But they need you to show up with their best interests at heart. And we always say in sales, oh, we care, we care. Well, don't tell people you care. Demonstrate you're caring. So I just want to go back, where you spoke about positioning yourself, and in the gift that we have for the attendees, there are some tools for you to position yourself. When you understand what you want to change and who you want to change it for, and when you can show up with professionalism, understanding the purpose behind what you do, and that's what our customers need. They need us to help them. Firstly, they need us to show up and show them that we care. The second thing is they need us to reduce the chaos in their lives, Anele. They need us to actually help them to cut out the noise and to focus on attaining their business objectives. They need us to give them a seamless experience. So that goes to the professionalism that I was speaking about, preparing for an engagement, showing up on time. Reducing the chaos means don't give your customers too much information, give them just what they need at just the right time. So at that point, I should probably stop giving too much information.
Aww. All right, tell us about the tool. I've put the link in the chat for everyone who's in, but I'll post it there again, just so that everyone has the link. Tell us a little bit about that tool, Shelley.
So what we've done is it's a social selling savvy guide. Now that's a tongue twister, right? And a little bit on how you can get geared up in terms of social selling and getting your LinkedIn profile right. And, if I can just say this, please, because I've had a few of these this week on social media. When you're reaching out to somebody that you admire or it's a CEO of a business, you want to pitch to them, you've got to understand, one, that they're very busy. Two, a lot of people are approaching them. So here's very, very quickly for you. Be very short in reaching out. Explain why it matters to them, not to you. I've had this week 4 people asking me for coffee. I still have no idea why, Zanele. So when I commit to coffee, I don't know, and by the way, I'm not meeting anyone, so it's virtual, right? But I don't know how to prepare. I don't know if it's a coffee I should take. So I'm going in with a level of, where's this going, Yes. So be clear on what you want. Be short, sharp, and to the point with your message. What's in it for the individual? What can you offer them? And what is your ask? And if your ask is, I'd really just like 30 minutes to pick your brain. I understand you're probably really busy, but if you could spare 30 minutes at some point in the next 6 weeks, it would mean so much to me. My 3 top questions that I would ask you if I met with you is 1, 2, and 3. Well, you stand out, right?
That's a game changer, Shelley. And I think that strategy is the difference between completely getting ignored by someone that you are absolutely craving a conversation with and would benefit from, and actually getting their attention.
100%. Yeah, and be respectful. So I had a Facebook telephone. I was lying on the couch on a Sunday evening, showing my husband a couple of videos and things like that. And the next thing, I'm getting a phone call on a Sunday evening because somebody saw me online, and this is a business approach. So be respectful, be considerate, be short, sharp, and to the point, and make your ask clear. And if possible, let the other person know what's in it for them. So in the gift that you're going to get is a social selling savvy guide, just to get you started on that. And we're going to be running a complimentary webinar on the 24th of February. So anybody who signs up for the guide, you'll get an email letting you know more about the webinar. And we're going to be talking about customers, the nature of this hyper-connected customer. What does that mean if you want to get through to that customer? And I'm going to be sharing some really cool tips for you on how to have a really professional engagement.
I like that. Tell us a little bit more about this customer, Shelley. In the beginning, I said that the customer wants to co-create with us. What's another really key factor that you think people are really looking for at this time, that if you are positioning and selling yourself, if you get this one right, you're almost half or so of the way there?
Yeah, so I just want to touch on the point you made about co-creating. The thing about co-creating is you don't get buyer's remorse when the customer has participated. In other words, instead of you selling, the customer's buying. And you find that the customer satisfaction goes up. They're not as quick to cancel. It's just a much easier relationship.
Yes.
The other kind of standout factors in what the connected customer is looking for is they are looking for people who are very clear on who they are and what they do. So if I'm looking for if I'm looking for a life coach, let's use as an example. If I'm looking for a coach, I want a coach. Now, if you come into the industry, and this is maybe a conversation for another day, because I know it's tough, and it's tough when you come into sales. It's tough when you come into coaching. It's tough when you come into broadcasting because you've got to cut your teeth. And then you've got to do free work, and you've got to work for exposure, and you've got to do all sorts of things that, that even the pros do, by the way. Even the pros do that. But that connected customer wants to know that they're dealing with an expert. So you need to pick your niche. And if you're a coach, what kind of a coach are you? Are you a life coach? Are you a relationship coach? Are you a money coach? Can I tell? If I go and look at your website, does it look like you take pride in your work? Even if it's a one-pager website, did you take time with this, or did you rush past it because it's something you need? And if I go to your profile, can I find testimonials of other people that you've worked with? So Nita, when I started as a speaker coach, I mean, this is, I don't know, it's probably 7 years ago now. Don't quote me on this, but it's something like that. And I wanted to cut my teeth there. I approached Siyabulela Quza, the Harvard graduate rocket scientist. I coached him for free. He could have paid me. I mean, the guy's a rocket scientist, okay? But I needed him more than he needed me. And I coached him. I showed up on time. I was professional, man. I put my heart and my soul and my guts, my blood, sweat, and tears in there. And I got an amazing testimonial. That testimonial led to an introduction. When he spoke at the Discovery Conference, they looked at him and they said, Sia, we saw you 6 months ago and we see you now. What's happened? And he, being the good-hearted person that he is, he said, it was Shelley Walters. That got me into Discovery. From Discovery, I got into FNB, Nedbank, JSE, et cetera, et cetera. So, if you are coming in and you got to start somewhere, then that's the way to start. But what the customers want is an expert who's clear on what they do, understands what they deliver, and can communicate that succinctly.
And it's starting to sound like relationships are a very big part of it now too. Creating and maintaining those relationships. I know that's always been a very key theme in sales. Has that changed at all?
Well, it's interesting. So it's changed because you can't take your customer out to a golf day. You can't go and, take them to Marvel or Saint. You can't necessarily drop off a bottle of wine for them, depending on which levels of lockdown we're in and the mood of our leadership, right? So you actually need to be more consistent or frequent, shorter engagements more frequently with greater sincerity. Just reaching out and saying, I haven't heard from you. Are you okay? I called a customer 2 weeks ago just to find out literally how she is. She works for a big banking institution. She's got she's got 1,000 people that she's responsible for. 1,000 people. We spoke on the phone for 90 minutes. So here's a little tip for you. When you want to do a casual conversation, and I know that this is not popular necessarily with, certain generations, but a good old-fashioned phone call is also good. It just allows people to walk around the house and they just shoot the breeze and, But you'll know your customers. And we had a long 90-minute conversation. At the end of it, she said to me, and Zanele, this was not why I called her, but at the end of it, she said, I saw that you've done this remote selling school, and can you tell me about that? And that's now led to her introducing me to somebody else. But the point that I want to make, and there, by the way, for every one of those phone calls that I make, there are 15 others or 25 that nothing comes out of it. But it's not nothing, because Zanele, my closest friends were either colleagues or customers. I moved to Johannesburg from Port Elizabeth. I arrived here with no friends. And now some of my customers are my closest friends. because I showed up with genuine care. So that's right now, make time to ask people how they are. If you see somebody is mentioned on Facebook that somebody has passed, don't comment on Facebook. Send them a message, send them a voice note, let them hear the sincerity in your voice. You know, if your customer has a problem and you know they don't have budget, and if it's within your means, so don't cripple yourself financially, but it's a generous thing to reach out in a time of need and help somebody if it's within your power to do that. I often say to my customers, I'm not a slot machine. You don't have to put a coin in to get an answer, you know? And my customers know that if they need me, they can call me, and we have a reciprocal relationship of trust. And I trust that they're going to treat me with that same honor. So to build relationships in this time, be helpful, be useful, be considerate, and be polite.
Wow, that's such a great gem to end off on. And you are spot on with that, Shelley, because when the pandemic started and things started to actually get quite rough within South Africa, outside of just the global context, one of the key things that a few colleagues and I were speaking about is let's not sell yet. Let's just go out there, look at all the clients we've worked with throughout 2020 and before then, and just check how they're doing. And you mentioned Discovery, who I also work with, and that's what we did. We just said, oh my goodness, how are you all doing? How's the team doing? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because just before the pandemic, around March, I'd done a talk with their team about how office spaces might not be a thing in the coming years. But it's just to check up. And those particular conversations really enriched the relationship so that if ever an opportunity does come up, you stay top of mind, right? And I think that's really, really important when you're not just a name somewhere, but you're this constant person that they know is there, that has the business's best interest at heart. Yes, Shelley.
Zanele, kindness, it never goes out of fashion. You know, you go and read Robert Cialdini's book, The 6 Laws of Influence. The first one he talks about is reciprocity. When somebody shows you kindness in a time of need, now, this is not 100% true. Yes, you will get people who will not appreciate it. And then you register that, and then you move on, right? You don't keep investing in those. But kindness, politeness, and consideration are timeless. And I sometimes think that in the rush and the pace that we all get caught up in, that consideration that you've just described, by not selling, by showing up and showing care, that is the casualty of this pace of rush and driven by anxiety. Somebody that I worked with many years ago used to talk about the power of the takeaway. And when you take the deal and the money off the table, when you're not trying to sell, you find people will open up to you in ways that you could not even imagine. So take your needs off the table. Just take them off the table. And you know what? If you're struggling, well, you're struggling anyway. So you may as well try this as a strategy. It might just work. And if you're not struggling, then you have the bandwidth to do this.
Yes.
Take it off the table and watch how people respond to you.
Okay, I see we have a question from Muhle, and these are the final seconds for anyone who still has a question, so we can pose that.
Sorry about the time.
No, yeah, right. Muhle, you're asking more about the remote selling school. He just wants to know how much automation you encourage your clients to apply so that they can lower the cost of acquisition per lead.
So in the remote selling school, Muhle, what we cover is the client engagement aspect. So everything from the very first conversation you have with your customer to pitching to your customer to how do you do stakeholder engagement in an online environment. So in the remote selling school, we don't talk about automation. However, your question is a really important one, and it's a great question. When we talk about to salespeople, they often feel threatened by automation or artificial intelligence. And of course, you know this, Zanele, because of your work you do with learning and unlearning in Tomorrow Today, which is an incredible organization who's driving this message so beautifully. And that is, you don't need to be threatened by technology. Your greatest threat is a human being that's leveraging technology. So just yesterday, I was talking to a customer about the quotations. So they supply a commodity into a construction environment, and their salespeople spend 80% of their time generating quotes. Now, if you can automate that through the website, then those salespeople can focus on follow-up and make 2 to 3 times more money. So you can lower your cost per lead, and you can increase the profitability of the salesperson. So that's kind of the message that we're giving to our customers. I hope that's helpful for those listening, but that's not what we teach in the remote selling school. In the remote selling school, it's all about how do you engage with customers online from the very first conversation to pitching, delivering reporting, managing stakeholders, etc.
And closing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and closing, pitching. So pitching, closing. Yeah, we even cover productivity. How do you do online demonstrations? How do you do online demos of products? If you sell pizza ovens, how do you demonstrate that pizza oven to your customer when you can't invite them into your environment? So that's what we teach you.
That's fantastic. When did you start the remote selling school, Shelley?
We were commissioned by an American customer to build the program out for them in April last year. We then partnered with Sanlam, who was an incredible partner with us, to take that program and to put it online. And so that program is online. And now we've then taken it a step further, of course, made it available to and applicable to people outside of the financial services sector. Although for the financial services sector, we are so proud, if I could just have a little bit of a humble brag, we received our the IISA, which is the Insurance Institute of South Africa, accreditation this week. Our program is accredited. Now, guys, remember at the beginning of this, I said, I didn't go to tertiary. I didn't have a tertiary education. So for me to have a course accredited by a body like that is awesome. But we also have another iteration of that is available to anybody who sells into a business environment, any B2B seller, whether you sell ball bearings, copper cables, software solutions.
Fantastic.
So that's what the school's about.
Oh, that's really great.
And the social selling savvy guide, which you're going to make available to everybody, is just kind of a bit of a taste of how we approach this way of selling.
No, that's really exciting. That's really exciting, Shelley. And to know that even though the rules of the game have changed, people can still show up and close deals remotely. And I mean, I don't want to use the overused word, but pivot. So how do people get a hold of you, Shelley, and follow your work?
The best way to do that is head over to ShelleyWalters.com and sign up for our newsletter. And that comes out weekly. And connect with me on LinkedIn. Shelley Walters on LinkedIn. Shelley Walters, well, you guys have all got me on Instagram now. And go and sign up for our newsletter on our website. If I bore you, unsubscribe. But I think you're going to find that there's great value in there.
Fantastic. I see we've got a great review to end us off from Candace. She says, thank you very much for the awesome live. Grappling with developing my sales skills, and this helped a lot. And I think if you caught that link, Candace, that's also going to be very helpful. I'm going to post it again in the chat, so you can definitely go over there and then follow Shelley and her work, and head over to her website and actually enroll for those upcoming courses. I think you'll find them very valuable, if this tidbit was already something quite exciting for you. All right, thank you so much, everyone. It's been such a pleasure. Shelley, thanks once again for your time. You are phenomenal. Keep doing the amazing work you do, and just being this human that radiates such awesomeness. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.